So in this video, I'm going to do another example of regression analysis. And in this case, we have the average daily temperature in degrees Fahrenheit and gallons consumed per day. And the question is, which is the dependent and independent variable? So once again, in this case, I would say that X is going to be the temperature, and the amount of gallons consumed per day depends on X. So X and Y. Now I'm going to set my calculator once again. First thing I'm going to do is clear any data. So second reset, second 0, scroll over, enter. And then I want to make sure, second stat, that I'm in 2 variable statistic. So scroll over and hit enter. And then I'm going to hit data and put my data pairs in up here. Okay, pause the video and make that happen, and then we'll go and find the correlation coefficient and so on and so forth. So after I entered the data points, I did check, but I'll check again just to make sure that all the points are correct. Right? Once again, make sure you don't lose marks for not having correct values in. 3 and 30, there we go. Okay, and so our information is set in there. Now, in order for us to find the important numbers, we go to stat var, and we have 10 data points, and sure enough, there's 10 data points, so that's a good sign, right? We have 10 data points. Scroll over, the sum of the average x's, the average of this column is 18.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And scrolling over, the standard deviation of this is given. If this was a population, there it is, standard deviation. The average of the y's is 19.2. Standard deviation of the y's, and so on and so forth. Here are the values for the columns if we were using the formulas. And I want to find the correlation coefficient, and here it is. So in this case, R is equal to negative 0.982038,546. Okay, so we have a strong negative correlation. As the temperature increases, consumption decreases. The next value, coefficient of determination, we're just going to take this value and square it. There we go. Hit the square button and enter. And so we get 0.96 and change. And 964,399,705. And once again, I can say that's approximately 96.44% if that's to 2 decimal places. Okay, rounded 2 decimal places. Once again, I use the unrounded value for that. Okay, and that's exact. And once again, what is this telling us? The variability of consumption can be explained by the variability in temperature 96.44% of the time, and the remaining part, 1 minus or 100% minus the 96.44, that would be due to other factors. Okay, so but for the most part, when X changes, Y will change, and that relationship can be explained 96.44% of the time. Okay, now I'm going to put together a scatter plot to show how this looks. Okay, and I'll show you how that's done. So I have in Excel the the data set. Okay, and there we go. And if I select my data set and go Insert, Scatter, and choose this value here, you'll see that we actually get the scatter plot put together very nicely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this chart so create its own sheet. And this is consumption versus temperature. Okay, hit OK. Okay, so it creates that. And we should put some elements on the chart like the titles. So axis. So across the x-axis, that was the temperature. And that was in Fahrenheit. Okay, and consumption. And that was in gallons, so you should always include your units. Okay, and once again, we'll say actually temperature versus consumption is the title. And then I'm going to show you a couple more things. So with this, now that we have our own sheet, you can right-click this, copy it, and put it into a document. As well, if you go to a data point and you right-click on it, we can add the trend line. Okay, now it's going to give you options. We're talking about a line, but there are other models out there. But for now, this is what we're dealing with, is the linear model. And if you scroll down a little further, we can actually include the equation as well as the r² value, our coefficient of determination. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and you'll see that we got the exact same values. There we go. And let me move that over here. Okay, so there's our equation. Now, I also want to add that our model, the line, only will only be displayed from the minimum x value to the maximum x value. Everything beyond or below, we have no idea what the trend is. We can only use the data between our two x values, because we don't know, maybe after the highest value that we use, maybe things change drastically and it goes back up. We don't know. We can't speculate that. All right, so this is the line of best fit. Here is the slope, and here is the y-intercept. Okay, so it's a pretty straightforward process. Now, I do want to add as well that when you go to put your data into Excel, you want to make sure that your independent variables first and then your dependent. Okay, it just makes life really easy. Okay, so getting back to our example. Okay, so we took care of that. Determine the regression equation. Well, it's there on the plot, but as well from our calculator, if we scroll over in our stat bar, we will have the equation. So there's our A. Remember, A stands for the slope and B stands for the y-intercept. So to put this together, our equation is y prime is equal to negative 0.76569383 x prime plus 33.44190529. And then the last part of the question is to say, predict the gallons consumed at 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to plug in 20 in for x and see what that gives us. And once again, you notice I did not round at all. And so this gives us a value of 18.12802.864. And now I might ask to round to 1 decimal place, so approximately that many gallons. Now your calculator also has a built-in function. Okay, so if you go to your stat bar and you scroll over, there's your x prime and there's your y prime. If you scroll to your y prime and then you put 20 and enter, because we're trying to figure out y when x is 20, it gives us the answer, and there it is. So they're identical. Actually, there's a little bit of rounding here, but all digits are identical up to here. Okay, so it shouldn't impact. So you can use your calculator to do the prediction as well. Okay, so just make sure that when you're using your calculator that you are careful with entering your data, double check your data, and as well, just make sure that you transcribe these values properly onto your page. Okay, remember that A is your slope and B is your y-intercept. Now, in some cases, I just want to add, depending on the calculator you have, those might be reversed. Okay, so just make sure that if you have a different calculator that you're using, that you know what is what. Okay. Anyway, so that said, you should be able to handle the homework. It's pretty straightforward. This whole chapter is very straightforward. And yeah, good luck. And if you have any questions, make sure you reach out.